What's going on, everybody? It's me, Alyssa, and I'm actually going to just kind of walk you through real quick world building tutorial in AltSpace. For those of you that don't know, AltSpace is an amazing social VR platform, and it is my second home, actually. I've been here for about a year and a half, and I've had a lot of people ask me while inside the app how to build worlds. But the problem is, without having a visual aid in front of you, it's pretty hard to understand at first. Once you get the hang of it, it's like second nature. It's just like riding a bike. Building within AltSpace versus bringing in 3D objects and other things from Unity or Blender or anything like that are two separate entities. So this tutorial will just focus on using the world editor, which is already built in to the application itself. So I've logged into my alternate account here. I'm in my Mrs. Botlock, my alternate identity account, so that I can show you everything from scratch, from the very beginning. So for example, this account is brand new. As you can see, the home space that I'm in is empty. I haven't created any worlds with this yet. So I'm going to show you from the very beginning how to start building and customizing a world within AltSpace. The very first thing you're going to do is open up your menu within the app. You're going to select the settings option at the bottom. You're going to select General, and you're going to enable these two options. The first one is the Early Access program. You're going to make sure that is lit up blue. You're also going to enable Worlds Beta. Now, the Worlds Beta will allow you to access creator user worlds, user-created worlds, I should say, and it'll also help you design your own. Once those are enabled, the next thing you're going to do is hop onto the AltspaceVR website. So you're going to go to altvr.com. You're going to log in, and you're going to use the credentials that you used when you signed up. Okay, so here we are. So you're going to come into your little home page here. It's going to default to the events page. So what you're looking for is worlds. So you're going to go under this More tab here, and you'll see a section called Worlds. You're going to click there. By default, it'll take you to the Featured Worlds page. We're going to go over here to My Worlds. And under this, you will by default see your home space. What we want to do is go into Universes. Now, when you create an account, you will have a default universe created just for you, but you can also create additional universes. Now, what a universe does is kind of group your worlds into certain categories. So if you have a world dedicated to just nature themed, or a whole universe dedicated to just nature themed worlds, you can create a universe just for those. What we're going to do is just use the default universe today. We're going to click on that. And inside that default universe, it's also going to give you your default world. Instead of using this default world, I'm going to create one from scratch. Even though there's nothing in here, I'm going to show you the creation process. So once you're in your universe, you're going to click on Create World. So you've got quite a few options here. On the left-hand side, this is probably the biggest option here is the template. Depending on what you want to use your world for, will determine what kind of template you want to use. It does tell you which templates are featured and optimized. Optimized means pretty much anybody can get into that world using that template. Your biggest downfall, unfortunately, are the mobile users, people using Gear or Oculus Go. They're the ones you really have to be conscious of when creating your world. If you want to open up your world to the most people possible, you do want to be conscious of who you're opening it up to. Now, Mrs. Botlock here, obviously, this is all brand new to her. So She does not have any shared templates. She doesn't have any created templates. But if in the future you learn how to do that and bring it into AltSpace, this is where you would find it. Right now, she is limited to the templates offered by AltSpace and creators that have shared and featured their own templates. Today, I'm just going to build a simple little park. So I'm going to click on City Park. When it is lit up blue, that means that's the template you're going to use. You can change this in the future. This is all subject to change if you'd like later on. We're going to call this Mrs. Otlock's Park. That'll be the name of the world. A description. We're just going to call this Sample World. Built by, it would help if I could spell correctly, built by Mrs. Botlock. You can also upload an image to show off your world. Some people will take an image of their world once it's built and use that as the world image. Others will use just default images they find on Google. I'm just going to pick a random one from my files here. We'll go with the rainbow because it's pretty. So you have two options here depending on what you want to do while you're in your world. If you want your world to be completely private, meaning nobody else can access your world, this is the box you would check. If you roll over these little green question marks, it'll give you a synopsis of what that option entails. If you want your world to be unlisted, meaning that it won't show up under the popular page within the app, you can click here. However, your friends will be able to see where you are and join you, and anybody that you send an invite to will be able to join you if the world is unlisted. I like to put my world on private when I'm still building it. That way I'm not distracted while I'm trying to build. And I like to keep worlds that are special to me or, contain things that are a little more personal unlisted. That way only my own friends can join me. So down here we have default contextual roles. Now what that means is you can grant special roles within your world. You can allow them to fly, you can allow guests to have access to a megaphone. So what we'll do is we'll allow our guests to fly. And in order to do that, we're just going to type the word pilot. You separate each role by a comma and then a space. And we'll also give them the megaphone. To give them the megaphone, you just type megaphone underscore only. This is case sensitive. You have to type it exactly as you see it here, otherwise it will not work. The instructions are what the users see when they enter your world for the first time. So a little dialog box will appear when you spawn into the world, and you can have it say whatever you wish. So I'm going to say, welcome to my park. I am going to make this world private so that nobody can access it while I'm doing this tutorial, but otherwise I would keep it public. The allow list is basically a whitelist. So if there is another user that you would like to have access to your world while it is private, you can put their username here. We do have some advanced options at the bottom of the page here. You can promote a YouTube video on the world page on the website, as well as a Twitter, if you'd like. If you already have a world built and you'd like to copy that world, this is where you would go to do that. You would just select it down from this drop-down list. These are worlds that I shared with myself, so I would be able to copy them if need be. You can also put simple tags associated with your world. So I'm going to put park and relax. That way, when searching for worlds, people can click on these tags and find other worlds associated with those tags. Once everything is to your liking, you click Create World. Takes a second to load, and there it is. There's our image up there. And now you'll have your very own world page on the website. Now, if you want to access this world, I'll start from the beginning. Very simple. You click on More, Worlds, My Worlds. Remember which universe you put it in. In this case, we put it in the default universe. And there it is, Mrs. Botlock's Park. There are a few things that you can do on the website that you can't do on the app. And one of the biggest things is edit all of the logistics of your world. And what I mean by that is you can edit what we just did. You can edit the name, the description. Um, you can also share this world with friends. What that means is if you share a world with a friend, you would select them from your drop down list here. It'll send them a link to the world, and they will be able to access this world from their own menu at all times. They will also be able to copy this world. So you do want to be careful who you share this world with, because if you share the world with them, they will be able to copy it if they choose to. So just be aware of that. If there is a user that you do not want in your world, if they are somebody that you want to keep a secret, or if you just simply do not get along with that person, you can add their username here and they will be blacklisted from the world. They will be able to see the world, they will be able to see who's in it, but they will not be able to join. If you click on contextual roles, you can grant certain roles to certain people while they're in your world. So if you want them to exclusively have a megaphone or the ability to fly, um, or have moderation powers, in other words, they can kick people from the world if they choose, this is where you would enter that information. If you want them to have terraformer rights, that means that that person would be able to come into your world and edit it while within the app. They will be able to use the world editor and they will be able to delete things, add things, change things. So be very, very careful who you give terraformer rights to. Okay. You will also, as I said before, be able to change your template. And if there are any overrides that you know of in the future, once you research those, I've used a couple myself, but for the sake of this simple getting started tutorial, we're going to kind of overlook the override section. You can add an admin to one of your worlds, but as the little warning box tells you, the admins have full management access. They can actually get in here and do whatever they want with your world. They basically have the same powers that you do. So be very, very careful who you add as an admin. Okay. So that is the world that we just created. And oops, I got to go back into universes. Okay. Another thing you will find here is your diagnostics page. Now, the diagnostics page is great for finding out whether or not your world is optimized. And if all of these check marks are green, then you are good. Your world is fully optimized. Sometimes they might turn yellow, meaning that they're kind of on the edge. And it'll tell you exactly what's in the red, what's in the yellow, what's in the green. Very, very helpful tool if you're going for a fully optimized space. Your guests will have the option to favorite the world, and then they'll be able to find that favorited world in their worlds menu under favorites. So as you can see, Mrs. Botlock has a couple of favorite worlds herself. Now, if we go under my worlds, I've shared all of my worlds with Mrs. Botlock. So those are all of the worlds that you see here. But here is the world that Mrs. Botlock just built herself. So that's going to be in your menu under Worlds and under My Worlds. So from here, we can go ahead and enter the world. There is the dialog box that we created that says, "Welcome to my park." This is very helpful if you have special abilities or things to find or things to do in your world, little tips and things. Um, I've seen a lot of people will say, hey, flight is enabled here. Make sure you turn on fly, and they'll tell you how to do that. Or they'll say, hey, don't teleport. You might get stuck. Help little hints like that are great to put in the instructions box. Okay, so here we have our park. It's looking pretty empty, so let's add a couple of things. So the first thing we're going to do is open up the World Editor, this little button at the bottom. Everything that you see me doing, obviously right now I'm on a PC, but you can do the exact same thing in VR. The controls are just a little bit different. So let's open up our World Editor, which looks like this. Everything that you place within the world will be listed over here. Obviously it's empty because the only thing we have right now is the template. But I think the first thing that we're going to put in is a skybox. So we have two choices here. We have the AltSpace created skyboxes. These are skyboxes that were placed in here by AltSpace. The app developers put these in here. There are also featured skyboxes. These are skyboxes that were built by users and then later featured. So you can find different skyboxes for your needs. And eventually, if you'd like to learn how, you can build your own and bring them in. I'm going to go with a nice, pretty, sunny sky for my skybox since we're in a park. Once you click on it, it'll change automatically. You can look around, see if you like it. I like it. I think it's very pretty. So now let's add some objects. We're going to click back here. And again, you can put in objects that AltSpace provides or user provided objects that are brought in via their kits. If we go under the AltSpace kits, we've got a couple of options here. These kits vary in their style and the type of things that they have within them. If we go under featured and we click on kits, we actually have obviously a much greater choice of what we can put in here. So I think what we're going to do is put in a couple of trees to start off since we're in a park. So I'm going to scroll to a section that looks like it might have trees in it. As you can see, we've got flowers, we've got animals, and oh, look at that. Nature effects, nature palm trees, nature plants, nature props, rocks, terrain, and here we have trees. Now, this does not mean that these are the only trees that you can find. You really have to go in and dig around in the kits and see if you can find something that better suits what your world needs. But for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to keep it simple and bring in a couple of trees. And as you can see, there are 22 pages of trees here. So we've got plenty to choose from. Some of them are animated, some of them are static. So depending on what you want, that is what you can bring in. So I'm going to move forward here and I'm going to go ahead and pick a random tree. This one looks nice. All right. So as you can see, once the tree spawns in, it's very tiny. We want to resize that. I'm on a PC right now, so what I'm going to do is left click on the tree and then use my mouse wheel to resize it. So I can make it tiny, I can make it giant. Another way that you can do this, and once you play around with it, it'll get much easier. You select it from your list here, and you can change a few options here. You can name the object if you'd like. So I'm going to call this tree 1. If you want the collider turned off, you can turn it off right here. And what that means, when an object is collidable, it means an avatar cannot move through it. If you turn it off, it means you can pass through it. I usually turn off the colliders just because some colliders are a little bit funky and they don't exactly match up with the artifact itself. So I usually turn them off, but it is completely up to you. You can change the position or the rotation of your object as everything is grid based. And you can change the scale. So I think this tree would be much better if it was scaled to size 1. There we go. Now, obviously, this poor tree ended up in the ground. So I'm going to move back a little bit and I'm going to use my mouse to just lift him up and place him there. Now, obviously, if you're doing this within the VR app, I find it easier actually to move objects around and place them exactly as you want them within VR. But there are also people that prefer the PC method. Once you play around with it and you get a feel for it, you'll definitely learn which method works better for you. All right, so I think this tree looks fantastic. One thing I am going to do is change the rotation values of X and Z. And what that will do, I'm going to turn them to 0. And what that will do is ensure that the tree is standing perfectly straight. And it looks like it is. Now, you'll notice up here in the top right corner of your world editor, you're going to see a button called Edit Mode. Now, the reason there's a white box around this tree is because your edit mode is turned on. That means you're able to grab and manipulate this object. If you turn it off, obviously the white box goes away. You are the only one that can see this white box. Even if there are other people within your world while you're editing, they can't see the white box. All they see is the object where it's placed. Now, what I want to do is I'm pretty happy with where this tree is. I want to keep him where he is. So I'm going to click the little lock button. And what that does is lock him in place. And it prevents me from accidentally grabbing it and moving it while I'm trying to edit a different object. I don't have to worry about that. By default, if edit mode is turned on, your character does have flight enabled. And it makes editing very, very simple. If you turn the edit mode off, it'll also turn the flight off by default. You can turn this back on by going to your menu, clicking on Settings, clicking on Input, and then clicking on Fly. Any world that you create yourself, even if flight is not enabled for other users, it will be enabled for you. If you want other users to be able to fly, as you saw earlier when we went on the website and granted the pilot role, that is where you would grant them the pilot role. So everybody that comes in here will be able to turn on fly and fly through the world. Let's add a couple more things in here. I think over in this corner, we will add, let's see what we can find. Let's see. Oh, some flowers would be really pretty. Maybe we can add some flowers. This is a nice little bush here. You can also close your world editor while you move and resize objects, which I find very helpful, especially in 2D mode. And again, if you would like to use the position system, that might also make it easier. One little tip though, as you can see, especially in 2D mode, depending on at what angle I am, the angle at which I'm facing the object that I'm editing, if I click on it and hold it, it'll rotate it depending on which angle I am. Not very useful if you're trying to keep something straight. So, here's what I'm going to do to fix that problem. I would like this bush to stay straight up and down. So again, I'm going to go under rotation and change the X and Z values to 0. And there we go. Now it's straight up and down. Oop, I touched it. I'm getting ahead of myself. Also going to turn off the collider. Okay. So now what we're going to do is turn on the rotation lock. And now when I click on it, it stays exactly as it should. I'm just going to set it on the ground here and leave it just like that. I'm happy with where I placed it, so I'm going to click lock, and now it's all ready. And I'm clicking too fast. So, one of the amazing creators here in Altspace, Nara, she actually created a sound effects kit. This environment ambient audio kit is fantastic, and I've used a lot of these audio clips in many of my worlds. What these create is a nice ambiance within your world. I use the birds one quite a bit. So if you click birds and you spawn into your world, you will hear birds. It's kind of hard to hear on stream because I've got the volume down. But any visitor that comes in here will hear birds chirping, which is perfect for our park. So I'm going to lock that in place. Let's see, let's put one more thing over here for the sake of the tutorial. Let's take a look at some of the Altspace kits. I'm not too sure anything in Alien Planet would be useful, but as I said before, it's very important that you go through the kits and explore them because you never know what you might find that might be useful to you. I'm kind of digging this frog here. He is one of my favorite objects. I've placed him in quite a few of my worlds. He makes me smile. I really like him a lot. So I am going to actually bring him on over here and I'm going to turn him around. So let's bring him around. Oop, there he is. I had my math wrong. Okay. And I want him straight up and down. And let's make him big. Let's scale him to 5. All right. I'm going to lock my rotation so he stays the same position that I created him. And I'm going to set him right here on the ground. And he's just going to sit there judging us, and that's just fine. All right. So that is the basics of world building. Very, very simple, and you can really let your creativity just soar. You really can. Um, as far as using Unity and other programs to bring in 3D objects, things like that, that's a whole nother tutorial. That's a whole nother ball game. So this is a great starting point. Um, really get into it. Create a couple of different worlds. See what your imagination can come up with. Um, in my other account, I've built about 15 worlds now. There were probably a lot more than that, but some of them had to be deleted for different reasons. The biggest one being I might have accidentally, did something and deleted, a very important part of that world and was too lazy to try and fix it. So, but definitely let your imagination go and, you can create some really neat things. To give you an example of how far you can go, I'm going to show you one of my worlds that I built in my other account. This is called the Wishing Well. Now, this world is very, very simple. There's not too much to it. I wanted to build a little charming space. This world was inspired by the Enchanted Meadow built by Faye, which is a gorgeous world. I actually have a teleporter to that world in my portal hub. So, here we have the Wishing Well. Very, very simple little world. I've added a few different things here. As you can see, there's some really pretty lighting behind the waterfall there. You can get a little pink hue. The water that you see down here was courtesy of my friend James. Thank you very much, James. I really love this water effect. The shader is just it's spot on. So there are a few things in here that I brought in from Unity, such as the flowers that are going up and around the back of this little stone chair, as well as this little butterfly and this heart-shaped tree. I wanted to make like a little throne, I guess you could call it, little nature throne. And over here from Unity, I brought in a wishing well and this bicycle here. These flowers here I found in one of the featured kits in Altspace. So, and then the trees came from the featured kits in Altspace as well. The skybox is a featured skybox. So you can really let things go. You can really come up with some unique worlds. I've seen so many amazing worlds in this app, and I personally wish Altspace would really focus more on world building and expanding that creativity because there are so many creative people here, as you can see from all of the amazing objects that they've created and built and shared with people. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope this was helpful for all of you beginners out there. Um, this started as a Twitch stream. It's eventually going to go on to YouTube so that people can find it and use it. I really do hope this was educational. And if you need any help whatsoever, drop a comment, let me know, and I'd be more than happy to help you out. If you would like to reach out to me on Discord, you can find it in the description, the video description. It is Ms. M-I-Z, Alyssa, ALYSSA, hashtag 1897, and you can find me on Discord and feel free to reach out to me there as well. All right, guys, that concludes our broadcast for tonight. So, again, thank you guys for coming in to my 0 viewers because, why not? Also, Frey, I just saw your comment. That's not nice, Frey. That's just not nice. All right, guys. Catch you later.